Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in if you are, and if you're watching the recorded video, I appreciate that as well. I do want to say that if you have any interest, feel free to share any of the recorded videos that will post to my wall afterwards. Like I like to say, the more people that view and hear this content about borderline personality disorder, the better. You get people talking, and that's the whole point. So, first of all, with updates, I did shave. And as you can probably tell, I do like it much better. I feel much younger, and so that's a good thing. Next, just wanted to talk briefly about my meeting with Mayor County. That was ended up to be a successful meeting. Like I'd mentioned in my post, we talked a little bit about borderline personality disorder. We talked a little bit about the connection with my time out in the streets and talking to individuals who do have mental illness, and the connection also with Medicaid and the gap, because a lot of those folks out in the streets do only have partial Medicaid, and there's a huge gap in our Medicaid system where it is virtually impossible for them to get treatment. So we talked about that connection. It went well. He talked about possibly talking to a board that he's on, but I know that he's a busy man. He said it while we were leaving, so I might have to be persistent and follow up via email a few times in order to make that happen. My first week of work went great. I love the job. It's a new industry. It is something that I'm doing I'm recruiting, so it's something that I'm very familiar with in my area of expertise. But it went well, and I look forward to continuing on with the job. So I got my BPD cards in. That was actually I was very happy when I received those in. Because I'm excited to hand those out to individuals down at Sculpture Park when I go down there in about 2 weeks. So tonight's topic is going to be on borderline personality disorder. I call it borderline personality disorder 101 and living with BPD and recovery. So first of all, the things that, like I said, that these are my opinions. I'm not a mental health therapist or anything like that. I just have BPD, so I throw that disclaimer in as well. So I wanted to, first of all, the disorder is, borderline personality disorder is known as BPD, and when people are talking about it, many times they do get confused with bipolar. So when I say I have BPD, they said, oh, I know somebody who has bipolar as well. And sometimes that frustrates me because people aren't educated, and it's not their fault, but people aren't educated about the disorder, hence why I'm doing these things. So and the reason is because of the acronym as well, BPD, bipolar disorder. That's one reason why, but also because there are similarities with the two disorders as well. If you look at the criteria under the DSM talking about mood swings, that's why a lot of people and the emotional intensity part of it, that's why they sometimes get confused. But like I like to say, bipolar and borderline personality disorder is very different and needs to be treated differently. And it's like treating a broken ankle and maybe a tendonitis in your pitching elbow. And I had to throw a baseball analogy in there somewhere. So I think the Cubs are up 2-1 right now. So anyway, also the medical community has been tossing around the idea of actually changing the name of the disorder to emotional intensity disorder or some variations of that. And the reason is the primary reason is because it more accurately describes the actual disorder. So the best way I like to describe this disorder is that most individuals dealing with just normal daily stresses, nothing catastrophic or anything like that, just normal daily stresses, they have an emotional, excuse me, have an emotional level of right around here. Individuals with borderline personality disorder, not all, but many individuals with those same situations that, those day-to-day stresses, their emotional intensity level is up here for those same situations. And so many times they may be looked at as a basket case, overly emotional or sensitive, attention seekers, or just plain unstable. And really it's not fair. And I say that because it's not by choice. So another thing you'll hear people talk about is the word trigger. And you hear that in terms of recovery for addiction and everything, but it's a big thing in terms of people with borderline personality disorder. And the thing is when a trigger occurs, many times a flood of intense emotions with little or no time passing will just flood right in, and I call it kind of the freight train of emotions. And this is a part of the disorder that is for the most part incurable. I know that I will forever, most likely forever, have these emotions. They will come. But the key is to recovery is what you do after those, after the train comes and is heading down the tracks at full speed. The key is what you do after that. For me, when the triggers occur, the emotions hit, and I have to do two things. I have to immediately challenge any negative thoughts that may occur in my mind, or step back from the situation, or either or both. And many times, you're not in an environment where you can step away and get out of the situation. So it's really critical, that there is the challenging of those negative or irrational thoughts. Many times you'll find that individuals who get wrapped up in the emotions and ride that freight train tend to make decisions that may not be unhealthy. And that's where the impulsivity comes into play with decisions that may lead to, long-term addiction, substance abuse, and self-harm, or violence, rage, and sometimes suicide. Keep in mind that although that people with this disorder can go down the wrong path when they're feeling strong emotions that are negative, they sometimes make poor decisions even if they're feeling very positive. So many compare this to the bipolar or the high or the mania. And one of the things I dislike most about me having this disorder personally, is that when I'm having a great day or experiencing something that's positive, I have to make sure that I take myself down a notch and get to a balanced level. Where others can maybe ride that emotional high and enjoy the moment and everything. I mean, I can enjoy it still, but I have to always be cautious. Both the positive and the negative emotions can lead to decisions that could impact their lives in a way that they may, potentially regret later on. So that's why you see so many people with BPD, in my opinion, jumping into relationships, sex, or anything else that would be perceived positive at the time, but in all actuality may be unhealthy decisions after all. The good news is that with these emotions, they can be handled. And it's not always going to be easy, but after some time, it just, with practice and retraining the brain, I always like to say that, the brain is like a computer and we're in charge of our own programming. So, it's sometimes very difficult when along with the negative thoughts or whatever it is happening, along with all these emotions, it's very difficult for sometimes, for people with BPD to challenge those thoughts and get in the right state of mind. But embracing the disorder, taking advantage of being passionate about something and in touch with feelings can actually lead to great things if it's channeled appropriately. So hopefully this gives you a better understanding of this disorder and maybe a better perspective on why people with borderline do the things that they do. And I feel honestly for a long time that a lot of it wasn't my fault. I take responsibility for my own actions, but not full responsibility. I was simply handling the disorder the only way that I knew how to handle the disorder. But today I still have no choice in terms of the matter of the actual intensive emotions, but I do have a choice in how I handle them. So thanks for everybody for listening in, and have a great week, and go Cubs.